Call the meeting to order, stand for the pledge, and then stand remain standing for a minute for prayer. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor, would you like to say something first?
Gracious God, I ask you to be with this community on this wonderful day as they attend to your work through your wisdom. And we ask a special blessing upon the Whittington family and a blessing upon this board as it does your work for the good of this community. We ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. We'll have roll call.
Commissioner Carl has been excused.
Yes.
Commissioner Welters. Commissioner Altman.
As present.
Commissioner Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Burgo.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to suspend the regular order of business for a special presentation.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Would the Whittington family come up here to the table, please? That's, right there's fine. We appreciate what your dad did for us in the years he took and served Glavin County. And we have a resolution that we would like to read to you, and then we'll give it to you. Now, if you want copies, we'll make copies for you.
Now comes the Board of District Commissioners for Gladwin County, Michigan, on its behalf and on behalf of the citizens of Gladwin County, and now adopts the following resolution of commemoration on this 25th day of February 2014. Whereas Terry Whittington served Gladwin County as a district commissioner for 26 years, following service to his home township of Billings as its supervisor, and whereas Terry Whittington carried himself with dignity and patience in his public work, speaking well of all and able to engage in civil discourse even when others were beset with emotion, and whereas Terry Whittington earned the respect of his fellow county and township officials and the public at large by his willingness to do the extra effort that others might avoid, and whereas Terry Whittington's public life mirrored his private life, which centered on helping his family and friends with sage advice and honest sweat, always with a cheerful attitude, and whereas Terry Whittington's passing on January 14, 2014, creates a void which will be difficult to fill, although Terry would be modest and never recognize how important he was to all who knew him. Now therefore, in session assembled, the Board of District Commissioners commends the memories of Terry Whittington as a true servant and friend of the public, and expresses its appreciation for the time spent with Terry Whittington, and joins all in its sorrow and his departure from this earth to his just rewards and reunification with his beloved wife, Judy.
We'd also like to take and keep his picture in plaque here, if that's all right. He was, remember, we can look over him and use his advice every day.
No problem. You notice his shoulders taken over.
So if you want to take some pictures and we'll present it to him. If you want copies, she'll get you set up.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You know, Dan, loved all of you guys too very much.
And then Lauren. Are there any corrections to the additions to the agenda? Motion.
I will make a motion that we return to the regular order of business.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any corrections or additions to the consent agenda? Reading the cash balances.
Okay, we have in the general fund $161,575.73. And in the unallocated cash balance is $75,516.56 for a total general fund unallocated of $237,092.29 before the bills are paid.
Is there any, is there any public comments? You want to do finance report?
I think everybody in the room probably is well aware of the first item on the agenda, but that elevator is 35 years old. That's the first time there's been that kind of a problem for it. The price for the Lotus elevator is $20,088.46 to replace the hydraulic pump, the hydraulic fluid, the three-phase motor, and I'll make a motion that we authorize Rick Kent to get Lotus to fix the elevator.
And motion is to support.
I support.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, Rick Kent has also not been able to take a vacation in the past 2.5, 3 years now. And if he doesn't use that by March 1st, he's owed 106 hours, and he's asked to be paid out that money, and I make a motion to authorize Laura and Christie to cut that check.
Support.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The Finance Committee interviewed Mike Hudson, who has been, he's our custodian, the only one left. He's been here for 26 years, and we discussed methods and ways that we could do the job better with other kinds of options and/or change the strategic. And so it's being worked on, but we don't have, at this point, an answer to how to make the corrections necessary, but Mike Hudson is working on it, so I just wanted to bring the rest of the board up to date on
And
that.
that's, where's that at? How does that, where's he the custodian?
For all the buildings, for all the
Okay.
buildings, yeah. And that, of course, is one of the problems that he's covering every place, so.
Where it used to be maybe 2 people or
Two or
2.5
three.
people, he's down to 1 and he's trying to.
And as you're well aware, we did solicit bids from cleaning services, and we still have, keep Mike on the gun.
And, you know, he's a very loyal person. I don't know, a year or so ago that a lady left her purse in the bathroom downstairs, had a lot of money in it. He took it over to the sheriff's department, turned it in and said, I don't want anything to do with this. I want somebody to hold on to it. And there's not too many people we can find this.
Okay. Jim Mabel, our animal protection supervisor, has came up with a 2014 dog census system to try to resolve. In case you're not familiar with it, in the past, each township was finding individuals to do the dog census and paying them $1, and many of them decided to do the census sitting at their desks. And Jim has approached the problem differently. He's got about 15 individuals that are interested in doing it. As you remember, we elevated that fee for doing the census to $2. And he'll need a motion, or need a movement from us to move forward on it. I make the motion that we authorize Jim to enact his dog census program.
I support.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Bob Evans also came into the finance meeting and brought us up to date on some of the FEMA things. That's still hanging fire, as was discussed last evening at the county government meeting. There is no resolution to it at this point in time. So, but he will get back to us as soon as anything new comes back from FEMA. Any questions about that one? Well, we were all there, so you heard it. Paul Gravlin came before us to discuss the recovery court revenue, and he asked for budget amendments to be included in the finance report. However, I don't have those details, Laura. I only have the,
You didn't get the finance matters emailed to you? I can make you a copy.
okay.
There's 8 or 9 items on here.
That was, I had left a message, but because of the holiday and Friday, I didn't get a response. In other words, is there any reason why we can't legally make the adjustments that Paul has asked for? Because I need to know that. In other words, I know what he was asking for, but do we have the authority and so forth to transfer that money to Claire?
We have to research that a little bit.
I'm not going to give an opinion on
Everybody's got an opinion.
that. Not in public session, we don't.
I just, my feeling is that I think we only should appropriate when it's needed to, if they need it, we'll send it to them.
What I think we talked about in the finance meeting, the resolution that was discussed, was item 3 on your finance matters, that you were going to pay out the $2,800 that was the balance for 2013, and then you were going to deplete the budget item, so it does not show as incoming revenue.
Well,
That was supposed to be a cost-neutral program.
Yeah. When Paul left, I think that was the understanding that we were going to clear out the budget amount of $3,000 in that line, so it doesn't look like false revenue, and then pay that out. Now, he did say he was not taking a draw on the $7,500 appropriation that we had set up on the expense side, so he was hoping by the end of the year that expense amount could be used, could be decreased to balance the revenue that's not going to be collected. That's my recollection. Is that yours as well?
That's it. So that's what I meant.
So item 3 would cover that action. Done.
okay.
And while we're on that, are you done with that?
Well,
Or
we
do you
need
like a
to
motion?
take action on his request. And in hearing no objection from our clerk and our treasurer, I make the motion that we
Speak up. Is there support to that?
I did speak up. I said I thought it was supposed to be a cost-neutral program for the county.
So, is it totally confusing?
It's nothing that we have to do right away. It's something that we need to take back and
What you have to remember is that he gave you guys a letter 3 weeks ago, you tabled it and met with him, and this was the agreement that you came up with. So if you're going to do something different, you should probably meet with him again.
no, I think we need to do this.
Not table it?
No, not take
Okay, I'll make the motion then.
Is there a second?
I'm not real sure. I'm reading this, but I'm not real sure. It isn't clear to me what we are being asked to do. Okay?
Do you want me to explain?
Please.
There is a recovery court
Yeah.
and district court,
Yeah.
okay? Those participants have to pay to be part of that court.
Yeah, I know that.
That is the revenue that goes in, okay? Because it's a dual county district, all the accounting is held in Clare.
Okay.
On the expense side of the district court budget, there's $7,500 set aside for sobriety or recovery court expenses. As Clare County needs money, that's where we would pay that to them, okay?
But we're paying for people in the Gladwin court part of it, correct?
Clare County pays for all the expenses, Gladwin and Clare. We pay no expenses. When Clare County runs out of money or the grant money's out, then Gladwin County sends them an appropriation, and there's $7,500 budgeted for that this year.
Okay.
The money that gets collected from the participants goes in the revenue line. Mr. Gravelein wants the revenue money also transferred to Claire. The contention of the county to start was that revenue was supposed to help offset our expenses, and that's what Christie said, it was supposed to kind of be a cost-neutral issue.
Correct. I remember when that was set up, that was very clearly defined that there was to be no cost to Gladden County. Okay.
So what Mr. Gravlin has now said is that that revenue line should never have had a budget attached to it, because that money should not be dedicated revenue, it should be transferred out revenue to Clare County. And if he just moves the revenue to Clare County, he will not have to ask for any expenditure, or should not have to ask for any of the $7,500 appropriation that's set up on the expenditure side.
The only question I had is, and he promised that he was not going to try to use any of that money that he had. Now, when that's at the end of the year, does that come back to us?
So the reason why it's noted in here that because the revenue line should not have had a budget attached to it, we have to do a budget amendment decreasing the amount of revenue by $3,000, because it's nothing that we are going to take in, it's a false revenue at this point. So by doing that, the board needs to offset the $3,000 from somewhere else in order to keep a balanced budget. And because he's saying at this point he doesn't feel comfortable by reducing the expense line by $3,000, he just kind of wants to see where it needs to play out. This would be handled in the semi-annual budget amendments.
Okay. I will support
Was
the
that
motion.
clear?
Motion is supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And also that the Recovery Court is having their first graduation, scheduled for 7:45 Tuesday, March 4th, in the district courtroom. There's a small reception following. And if anybody would like to attend, do the commissioners, they can.
Under Sheriff Ray Hartwell has also requested permission to hire a part-time corrections officer, 30 to 35 hours a week on a temporary basis due to a short-term disability issue with one of the correction officers. And I'll make that motion that we authorize Under Sheriff Hartwell to take that action.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, you recall that during the DADA meeting, that Bob Fry had told us about the 38 machines where they were Windows 7 problems with the support, and he now has came back with an alternative to it. He's succeeded in finding through, I guess it was IT, Wright helped out, and others, but we can get these machines for half the cost, but they are rebuilt, which isn't necessarily a deal breaker, not in that kind of technology. As you recall, those machines are 10, 11 years old, and they're not going to be supported, the operating systems after April, so I believe that reduces the 27,000 is what we had talked about, down to 14,000. And I think congratulate Bob for staying with it and coming up with a better deal. And I make a motion that we authorize the purchase of those machines for $14,000.
I support that.
And I think Dan has worked on that with them.
Yeah.
That's been motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have two employees from the probate, from probate court that want to attend the Juvenile Registrars Association meeting in June 18th and 20th this year at the Mission Point Resort. The cost for 2 nights of rooms will be $436, plus a luggage fee of $6 per person and a 12% local resort tax. The registration for the conference is $75 a person, and the total expense would be paid from 101, 148, 860, and 000 fund upon approval. So I make a motion that we authorize this request.
There's support.
I will support that.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. When we adopted the budget, we,
Oh, there's a couple, did you see the 1 and 2 on that? Didn't get handled either. With all the budget amendments.
District court.
okay, that I'd also call Christie's office on that one. Is there any reason why we can't, in other words, are these transfers from the budget items, is the magistrate just solving the problem we have about monitoring the revenue from the court system to meet the agreement that we made? So if it is, that's fine.
Item 1 represents the action that you took last meeting
Okay,
to allow the 3 part-timers to go back to full-time.
gotcha.
This only resolves the clerk in district court. So district court's the only one that came up with the funding source for their individual. So that's why this budget, now, does that answer your question as to who's monitoring and collecting? No, it does not answer your question.
Yeah, but not this, but it's a part of this agreement.
This is, yes, this is Mike Greer's portion of his
Okay,
agreement
I'm-
to take back his full-time person.
Yeah. Okay, Magistrate Greer is asked to make budget changes then to items 101, 136, 706 for $25,006. A $10,000 transfer in 101, 000, 601, 136. 2,500 from from 2 accounts, 101, 000,602.003 and 101, 000-609,000, and from $5,000 from 101, 136, 817,000, and I'll make the motion that we authorize that transfer.
Support.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Now, this next item, Laura, and I
You don't
appreciate
have to, you don't have to read that all
No,
out.
I'm
It's
not
not-
going to read it all this time.
Yeah.
But because this PIT program, this is the one that Christie and myself, and we've all been looking at because of the nature of it. We're not, that was one that was also supposed to be a push, wasn't it, Christie? That's one you were talking about?
I'm not aware of that. What is?
That, or was it Marlene that told me? But it was supposed to be a costly one. The PIT? Anyway.
About it only.
This involves the recovery court and the district court, and the 137 program, the PIT. And the budget amendments that he's requesting, again, they'll come in line with the attempt to solve the disparity between the expected revenue and the budget that the courts have. Hearing no legal objection to making the transfer from you, Laura, or you, Christie, I will make the motion. So,
Support.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I have one last minute one that came in this morning, Don.
well, I've got several other, what happened here is I've got different minutes than that I took. In other words, these minutes are different from the ones I was working from. That's why I missed that.
Yeah, I only do the action items, so, on mine. I just try to put a synopsis on
I
there.
got 2 or 3 more before we
Okay.
get to this, okay? Okay, when we adopted the budget, we sent Michigan State Extension a 120-day letter telling them we were going to defund them, all right? Of all the programs, of the money where we support financially in our county, the program we get the most bang for our buck, in other words, the amount of money we support Michigan State Extension is about $60,000. More Gladwin residents get benefits from the MSU extension than any of our other involvement with the airport, with the economic development, when you're talking dollar for dollar, the amount of money that we spend. And I believe because of the situation that Sherry Spillman is in the region, that her home office has told her straightforward in no uncertain terms, if that letter isn't rescinded, then she's got to close our office here in Gladwin. That would involve up to like losing 3 jobs immediately. And in as much as there's enough money to, in the fund to continue to operate at least until August, I make a motion that we authorize Chairman Walters to rescind the letter and so that it doesn't create this canceling of the MSU offices. And I believe we can find a way to resolve the issue. Remember, we didn't do this in a vacuum. We've been negotiating all along on trying to find a way not to create this scenario. So, but East Lansing has told Ms. Spielman, you got to close the offices. And therefore, I make the motion that we authorize Terry to send a letter rescinding.
And also, we know that she possibly can make it till August. And what we want to do is, and we hope that when the voters go to vote in May, and we do the headling rollback, that they take this into consideration of funding the 4-H kids and programs that they put on.
What you're saying is that there are enough funds that our portion of what we pay will keep the office open until August.
Right.
Is that 1st of August, the end of August, or just, shall we go by the 1st of August?
It's the end of August.
The end of August, so we're talking through August.
Yep.
We use that correct terminology.
So in other words, it gives us the option, then, should we be denied on the heading rollback, then we'll have to.
That would still give us a 90-day
Right.
leeway.
Right.
I will support that motion.
Motion is supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'll sign it.
Okay, one of the problems that I've been working on behind the scenes on our health insurance, for example, for you're not familiar with it, I'll give you a basic premise of that. We are self-insuring the difference between what the employee and family pay on deductible and $4,000. Now, that last year, that was $282,000 that we reimbursed. And when we've been attempting to get information from Blue Cross and Cadillac, we've been denied or rejected or ignored. And one reason why is because the Blue Cross records still show Laura Brandon as the authorized individual to speak with them about our insurance. That being the case, I make a motion that they be notified immediately that Kerry Walters is the official to negotiate with Cadillac and Blue Cross, so that we can get on with solving these problems. I'm doing research right now to try to see if our deductible level that we're insuring is set high enough or low enough. And in order to do that, I need to know the utilization, the claims that we're paying, the cost of administration to adjudicate the claims, and the premium that is currently enforced. And there is a difference in the number of documents that I've received from Cadillac. There's a 23-person difference in what Laura has and what they gave me, which is a bit of a problem, of course. But we'll solve it by authorizing Blue Cross or notifying them that Terry is authorized to make these requests for this data. So that's the motion.
So that would be, because before it was Josh and myself, so that's just adding Terry and Josh's
Well,
replacement.
I believe it's practical that you should be on there. I believe it was impractical on their part to not make a phone call when they got the request, because clearly they dropped the ball, because now we've been delayed 3 months just because of that email that we got where they spelled his name Terri. It tells me that they aren't necessarily on the cutting edge of what should be going on. They think he's a female.
And we sent him a letter.
Yeah. And it's just wrong. In other words, there isn't a problem with Laura Brandon being authorized to work with it, of course, because she does
Keep the records.
the records and so on. But why should we have our chair be cut out of it? So that's what the issue is.
If that's what it takes, I will support that.
There's a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay. And at this point, I'll come back to the airport and the other issues later. But,
I have one more
sure.
finance that just came in this morning. The sheriff needs to be registered to go to a summer conference in June. And the reason why we're doing this so early is because they have very few rooms. I need authorization to book his on the hotel, using the county credit card, send a check for payment, and to allow for the registration, which is $275. Room cost is the $129 per night, well, times 2 nights, but we have a $100 per night cap, so is there something else that can pay for the $29? I hate to be picky, but,
I can use a variety of, so I can use a couple of different funds over there that I've got available for that.
okay.
Drug forfeiture money.
So that's all I need is sheriff conference authorization.
Okay, I will make the motion that we authorize the sheriff to make the arrangements.
Support.
Motion is supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Right, the other stuff I can come back to.
We need, did we miss the approval of the board minutes?
No, that's on the consent. It's bolded, so you don't have to do anything
Okay.
that's bolded.
And then everybody's seen the communications. That was through the finance. I'd like to go with Commissioner Smith, and also, I seen her take lots of notes last night on the county, the local government, and can you dig them out? I make my notes look bad. So I would ask if she would bring us up to date on what was taking place last night.
At the Council of Local Government meeting last night, and thanks very much to Billings Township for hosting that. The election of officers, the new chair is from Secord, and I don't know,
Colin Combs.
okay? And Madeline Hubble and the treasurer,
Susie Rupert.
Susie, were returned to their positions. Our chair spoke eloquently about the reasons for going for a Headley rollback. And our representative, Joel Johnson, discussed areas that the governor is looking at to allocate the surplus that's coming up, that's kind of looking like it's going to exist. And also he discussed the DNR land purchases and the problems with those. A young man was there representing Senator Molinar. Secord reported that their master plan will be done in July, and they have a Verizon tower, and the work on that Verizon tower is going to begin on the 3rd to the 5th of May. And the Billings Township tower is up, but that's strictly AT&T and doesn't benefit you if you don't have another carrier. Billings also had an absolutely gorgeous dollhouse that one of their senior residents built, and the roof is all popsicle sticks. But that's going to be going up for a raffle, and the money will be used to purchase playground equipment for their township park that they have there in Billings. Laura did an excellent job talking about the clerks and the elections and the changes that are coming through for the election laws, and complimented her township clerks for their excellent job working on elections. And her first class will be March the 12th. Bob Evans was there to discuss FEMA and the joys of dealing with that governmental bureaucracy. Most of the problems with overcharging are in Hay Township. Larry Miller was there for the road commission and discussed that they still have not hired their manager, their director, and they figures that will be happening at their meeting tomorrow. Bob Balzer, the Director of Economic Development, was there, and he said there is quite a bit of money that's going back into Gladwin County manufacturing, and it's looking very, very positive about a plant coming in that will have 50 to 70 employees. Is that, I think that was the number that he used. That would be new jobs coming into this county. That's very exciting. The EDC is going to do an April survey talking about broadband capabilities, because we absolutely have to have that access to warrant, brings people in, because the kids then have access to fast stuff on the internet, etc. But that survey, and they really, if you are asked to do that, please do so. Don't go, yuck, and shuck it, because that can be utilized to convince manufacturers and businesses to come into this county. And the next meeting is going to be April 28th, and it'll be in this room. Those are my notes.
In your report, was you going to mention meeting tomorrow?
In my report, I do.
Okay. You want to go ahead and continue with your?
Okay. For my commissioner's report, I attended the Hay Township meeting on the 13th. Their guest was Vince Torres, and he was providing information about opening a compassionate care club facility. On the 28th, or on the 18th, I went with a concerned citizen who used to be one of my students to the Gladwin County Animal Shelter. Had a tour of that facility, a great discussion about needs of the department. They are looking for volunteers who will canvass the entire county for an up-to-date dog census. And if we had an up-to-date dog census with the licenses, etc., that would really positively impact his budget. I attended the district library board meeting on the 18th. Director Bruce Guy reported on a millage workshop that he attended, and he wants to share that information because it was dealing with passing county millages. It was geared toward libraries, but we could use that, and he specifically asked Sandy if you and I would meet with him, and so I'm passing that along. For those of you who may not know, Sandy was the very first president of the Gladwin County District Library Board when it became the district library. I met with Sheriff Shea, and I scheduled a county affairs meeting for tomorrow at 9 a.m. And this county affairs meeting will begin the process of developing a flyer about the Headley Roback election in May. So it'll be right here. So if you're interested, if you have some ideas, whatever, that's the thing that we want to be able to address.
Would you go over that again? You're going to be focusing on developing the flyer of information concerning the
Yes,
Headley
and
Roback.
what needs to go in. What he had and shared with me, this is the flyer that is from Beaverton Rural Schools about their bond millage extension and how this is set up. This is the kind of thing, and probably what we're going to need is to formulate a committee or something that's going to end up paying for that, because it does not come from county funds. And that's the thing that came from this Beaverton one, is from a group that paid for that, okay? So that meeting is going to be here tomorrow at 9. I also had a phone conversation with IT Right, and the contract that we have with them covers their assistance in installing all of the new computers, but they need a 2-week window to schedule their personnel, and there is a data meeting scheduled for next Tuesday, March the 4th at 10 a.m. And we will be covering that, and if you have any data issues, please get them to Amy so that we can kind of get an idea going, but we're going to be looking at the installation, etc. And last night, I was at the Council of Local Government, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Virgo.
Okay, the airport meeting. Sandy and I attended that. The main thing that they brought up is that Mike Hargrave had gotten donated all the signage from the Shell station when they changed it. All of it belongs down to the airport, it was given by forwards to them. Other than that, they announced like the tree cutting down the east end of the runways has got to be dealt with, and Mike has found someone to deal with that. And if Sandy can think of anything else that I didn't mention, go for it when you're there. But the other one's the fair board meeting. They are continuing to make progress by the events that John and the rest of them, the ones that are doing all the mud bogs and the ice races, the snowmobile races and things. They're in okay revenue at the moment because of the storage, that they rent all the buildings for storage during the winter, and so they got that revenue, so they're not in any problem there. I have been also working on their insurance, and I've got local quotes from local agencies in June, where we think we're going to be able to save a few $1,000s in premium from what's been going on there. It's a case where historically they just been buying it from a broker downstate someplace and not bidding, and the premium's up to almost $13,000 right now, and I think we can get it down. And the deductible was like $500, you know, and that's kind of that's a bad decision in insurance, but they're looking at alternatives to the way they've been doing things historically, as to the parking fees and the gate admission fees and so forth. Doesn't seem to be a consensus at this point, but they're working. And those meetings are always well attended, 25, 30 in attendance, and lots of good discussions, and at least they've got a synergistic attitude on going forward, so looks like that. Other than that, I've got a lot of Board of Health meetings coming up tomorrow, and then last week I had 2 of them, so, but
That's all you have.
that's it.
Commissioner Altman, last night, when I mentioned her name, there was a big applause, and I felt kind of bad because she got all that clapping and all that, but we're glad to have you on board, and
Thank you.
it's going to be fun, and you've been coming up to date, and we'll try to keep you informed of what's going on, so you present whatever you have.
Okay. Well, my first order of business was to attend the airport meeting along with Don, and there was a warm welcome for me there also, along with coffee and donuts. Probably weren't just for me, but I felt like they were that day. But again, I wanted to let you know that they had the signs donated to them by the Shell station, and they were very pleased to accept them, and they have plans to use all of those signs. And as Don said, they're going to be clearing more property this spring. For inspection purposes is what I gathered, but they pass all their inspections anyway, but they just need to clear out a little bit of brush and stuff like that. They are planning some activities for the airport this year. The Thunder on the Strip, flights for fall colors, and some fly-in breakfasts. They also received a very complimentary letter from Mr. Woodruff on the overall operations of the airport. And I'm not at all accustomed to any kind of an airport meeting, so I was really excited to hear all the things that they do and the things they have planned to do and how well they operate out there. And I'm kind of anxious for the snow to go away so I can get a tour and maybe even an airplane ride. I attended the Secord Township meeting on the 19th, and as Sharon said, they are working on a cell tower. They're working on some natural gas lines. They're interested in marine patrol. They said they met with Sheriff Shea. They're interested in some marine patrol. And they asked me for information on FEMA, and I'll be glad to let them know that I've got some now, but he was there last night. I did meet with Mr. Jacobson to learn more on the FEMA. And I drove to West Branch on the 20th for the Region 7B meeting at 2 a.m., which actually had been changed to 7:30, so I missed that. And I was just so glad that the mall is there, so that I had a reason to be in West Branch. And then I attended the local council of government
Was
meeting.
it a 2 a.m. meeting or 2 p.m.?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. No, 7:30 a.m. I went for 10 o'clock, but it was at 7:30 that morning. But my sheet said 10.
Well, you said 2 a.m.
Oh.
That's what we were questioning.
Oh, no, 7:30 a.m.
We're listening, Carol.
Okay, okay, okay.
Because you were making us, our dedication really look bad.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my first week, so that's my report.
Mr. Chairman, I'm reading this. I attended a meeting, a big meeting yesterday with Grout Township, Beaverton Township, and Buckeye Township on the rail trail meeting, where Lapham presented it to all the township folks. And just to keep you in the loop on it, this program was initiated by the Central Michigan Health Department to improve the health of our citizens by walking and riding bicycles. Lapham has presented 3 alternative routes from Gladwin City to Coleman. The idea is to connect it up with the old rail way right away down in Beaverton Township. Beaverton City and Gladwin City have got their own programs where this study is being funded by 100% by a grant through Obamacare, or Affordable Care Act. And the Central Michigan Health Department secured the grant. In other words, thus far, no townships or the cities have had to pay anything for the study. However, the results of the study indicate that I will be a memory before it's ever built. In other words, the initial estimates are about $10 million, and I said, great. But the positive to it, let me put it in perspective positively. In all the rail, or the walk paths and so forth that are being promoted in, around the whole country, the majority of them, and especially here in Michigan, are done from things like the Natural Resources Trust Fund, for example, pays the cost. In other words, I would made it a point that no political subdivision in Gladwin could afford in any way to finance this project. It's not possible. And that being a proper role of government infrastructure, in other words, building roads, bridges, and lighthouses, that's the way it ought to be done. There's 37 million acres of land in our state, 7 million of it are under control of the state and federal government, and they've got lots of money from the revenue, the royalties they receive from oil and gas ventures. And that's one area that the grant writers can go to have DNR support part of the trail. The Gerstacker Fund down in Midland, the Gladwin, what's her name, was putting that together from Bearden, the Gladwin, they announced the other night, I thought you might remember, Singano's got.
Oh, Hanson,
Yeah, they've got $1 million now on this fund. So in other words, private, these funds might be the way that this project gets financed I don't see government money being involved at all. It's going to have to be private sector stuff. And I don't think that the royalties and the revenue that the DNR gets from timber sales and gas and oil sales is government money. That belongs to the people. So that's where we are with. I have all the maps. These are in color, showing the 3 routes. The most probable route will be down River Road. But there is Crow Road is a possibility, M18 is a possibility, but it's not going to be, very little private properties involved. It's mostly public land. So
You said Grout Township, Beaverton Township, and what other township did you?
it was Buckeye, Beaverton,
Okay.
and Grout.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Couple things, we got a 10 o'clock here. Sage Township, everything is going well there. Gladwin City, I like their meetings. Sometimes they're quick and move right along and get things done. Numerous finance meetings, local government last night. That was a good meeting and a lot of information. So, just lots of general meetings. We can go on for people to talk with. But, mental health tonight. That starts at 5. It'll get over about 9 o'clock. That's interesting, that's Mount Pleasant. And also, we talked about the Region 7 Agency on Aging. Linda Burgle is interested in that.
Yeah.
So I would entertain a motion that we can appoint Linda Burgle to that committee.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then also, we slipped behind here a little bit. I've got a reminder from Justin Snyder in Construction Codes. George Allward was the electrical person for the construction codes. There's 4 members with staggered 2-year terms. George has expired 12/31 of 13, so he needs to be, and I talked to him this morning, and he's interested in still being on that board.
I will make the motion that
Support.
we reappoint.
So motion to support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If I got anything else here? I think what we'll do is,
Reverend Glass, has a question.
yes,
I did forget, March 14th, second Friday in March, is the legislative breakfast, local government, and I believe, Mr. Walters, you've been asked to be on there.
I haven't talked to you
Well, I am, as chamber person, I am,
yet.
okay?
Okay.
And that'll be at it's no longer St. Anne's, but I think we all know it as St. Anne's. The St. Anne's Fellowship Hall in Edenville at 7 a.m. So the legislative breakfast, the second Friday in March, local government, and then the April legislative breakfast will be the second Friday in April in Beaverton at the First Presbyterian Church.
Do you have all the paperwork?
And the one on the 14th is, I had down to KSC Hall, but it's,
Well, it is.
oh,
It is. It's the same building. It's just changed names because of the changes in the diocese.
And what time were those?
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
I don't know if I can get up that early to watch an Andy Bailey Hay. 7 a.m.
Would I lie to you?
Okay,
It
I see
is. That's right.
the Lieutenant Sperry is here from the state police, and Tim London is from the 3rd District grant position for the emergency management. Brad Lauer's here. So I would like to go into closed session for a minute.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
All in favor? Aye. We're just going to need probably 10, 15 minutes. Brad, Lieutenant, Tim.
And if anybody doesn't have something to do to occupy your time, I have pictures of my great-granddaughter. You may come up and look at them.
Laura's got film of her trip.
Vacation. 6 hour, 4 hour shift. It'd be a backup for us.
Sure.
So that would, yeah.
You can make your note.
Yeah. Yeah. He said it. What's that?
Have you?
Shut up.
Come up and speak loudly.
Talking to me.
You and Laura had that meeting on the 4th.
Anybody seen Josh?
Ready to make
I
a
will
move?
make a motion that we return from executive session.
Support. Motion supported, all in favor?
Virgo, we're started.
Well, thank you. Sharon, I don't know what I'd do without your help.
Is there any comments from the public or anything I need? Is there a motion to take and receive and file?
So moved.
Is there anything else that we need to touch on?
Did you make note of the thing about riding the dial-a-ride buses you know, that March,
Oh, March for,
That was in communications.
yeah, that's under communications, about the March for Meals campaign. And we received an invitation as county commissioners. We'd be honored if you would participate by helping to prepare and/or deliver meals during the week of March 17th through the 21st. I think that's a highly visible, I just think that would be, I'm gonna call Josh and tell him that I would participate in that, because I think that's a big part of our community, and it would be nice to ride along when these meals are delivered, just because I don't know how it happens.
Yeah, I think that everyone should get a note out to everyone, remember that, so. I just had Senator Mullenar give me some maps and stuff, his aide last night, so anybody needs any Michigan maps? And then he sent a bunch of veterans forms and then senior forms I'll get to Laura.
Excuse me,
I think
Sharon.
that's, anything else? Yes?
Could I take some of those forms and put them down on our
Maps?
counter? The map, all of them? I was looking at them this morning.
Yeah.
Put them out so that some texters
I
can
give
pick them
Jenny
up.
a bunch of the veterans already, so you might want to get something ready.
Okay.
Sure.
And also, the Gladwin County Endowment Fund is having their super challenge this Saturday from 5 to 8 at the KC Hall on M18. And all of that money goes into the Gladwin County Endowment Fund. And it's really a fun night. You get to go and eat soup and decide which one you like personally, and see if the judges pick the good ones too.
That was what I was trying to remember, Walt.
now, who puts the soups on? Did I read it right? Was it the local restaurants?
Oh, yes, yes. I know, one year the Welcome Inn came in like second place or something,
Oh,
you know?
that's-
Yeah, and so it's a really, you know, the camp is there in the Peppermill, you know, but they, at Mid-Michigan, there's a whole, there were about 15, I believe.
Just kind of go through. Master Gardener, there's also the 38th Annual Michigan Farm and Garden Show. Doesn't give me a date. Oh, March 27th
Yeah,
at 10 a.m. to 5.
we'll have a couple of meetings between them.
I think Sharon has done most of that. I think that's it.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Yep, sounds good. Did we miss anything? We need to talk to you,
You guys adjourn now?
yeah.
Just keep Eric Coney and his family
Oh, please do.
in their prayers over the next week
Yeah,
or
it
two,
looks good.
or 3 or so.
Talk to you and Ray for a minute. Ray's done.
Okay.
Have you heard about any plans or anything